So we're going to be doing some texture removal on this beautiful 69 Chevelle, 8,000 alcohol. We're just going to do this section here. Paint is not very hard, so we got to be careful how much we sand it. Twisted wool, Meguiar's M110. Okay. So in order to do this, I gotta zoom in, hold the focus. Now it's reduced quite a bit. Okay. If we come over here, I've already done the left side of the trunk. Texture, 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 reduced. Not eliminated, but reduced texture. So if we switch to 3,000, we'll probably get a much better result. And then it appears where the sanding marks are. So the rotary does half the work. Sanding does half the work. We want to go easy. We do not want to remove too much clear coat. So we're going to switch to just a normal soap and water. Damp sanding with 3,000. We don't want to go too hard. Again, remember we're trying to remove the texture, not too much clear. All right, so we're gonna take our time, cut in small sections. So we're looking at a completely different finish now. Zoom in. Right, it's much cleaner. More reflective, less texture, less pattern. That's what we're trying to achieve, okay? Now the other way that we can do this, and it's your choice, is you can use 25, 3,000, 2,500. Sorry, 2,000, 2,500, or 3. I'm going to use 25. I think the paper brand is Stark, with a little bit of soapy water, not too soapy. Okay. So that is going to reduce our orange peel quite a bit. So we're looking at a much cleaner. As you can see, there's still a spot of texture right there. We'll have to hit that a little bit more. But that is a nice, flat, clean panel. Another really important tip. Tack rags, when sanding, are essential. Okay, clean sanding is important. You definitely don't want that getting under your sandpaper. you can feel it biting into the paint, which is what you want. Flattens everything out. You got some lows that you can see here from just poor body work. What I do before I sand is I cut a bunch to fit my little sanding block that I cut from a Durablock. It's one of those flexible, hard, soft-sided ones. Works super good, and it's free. You don't have to buy a red stick to do this. Because you're hand sanding, you do want to go over the area lightly with some 3000. Just take one of these Scrub Ninjas, all right, and just wrap the sandpaper into it, okay? Super easy. Just work in small zones. Move forward. It gets to a point where you can feel that the surface is smooth and it's not grabbing the sandpaper like it was in the start. That's how you know you've leveled it really well. So again, start, use your fingers as like a guide, right? My thumb is on the edge here. My ring finger is riding along the window, so I don't roll over the edge or go too close to the edge, because if you go too close to the edge, it gets hard to fix that if you don't have the right tools. Luckily I do, but if you're just starting out, you don't want to make it harder for yourself than you have to. Okay. Yeah, it's coming out, it's leveling, slowly but surely. The objective is to get up into here. This is all Bondo, I can tell that it's all Bondo. It's got that Bondo look to it. Alright, a little bit more. Yeah, that leveled out pretty good. There's still a little bit of peel in there, but again, we're not trying to run the risk factor up here. We're just trying to make this thing look a little bit more refined. And I'm sure there's a shit ton of clear on this thing, so. So a good way to test for Bondo is to use a magnet. I already know this Bondo here, but I want to show you. See how the magnet is not as strong as it is right there, where it's a lot harder to lift and break away from the surface. That's nice and easy. Nice and easy. And it kind of latches on.
As with anything, washing,
we already knew Bondo was here, but I just wanted to show you
polishing,
guys.
Always work from the top down. So what I like to do when I'm doing these wet sanding jobs, correction jobs or coating jobs or anything, is I always start on the top surface of the car, and I work my way down. So the roof has some, this color is really hard on camera to see the texture and to see the scratches, but they're there. They're not a lot. There's a nice dent right here. I wonder if I'm gonna be able to show that on the light. Maybe not. There's a nice dent right there. It didn't, either it happened post-restoration or pre-restoration, and they just didn't fill it in right. But let's take a look at this texture. Let me lock the focus in here. So you can see there's a decent amount of texture. Sanding marks, all sorts of crazy stuff. And if you come over here, kind of gets worse. That's where that dent is right there. So our objective is to eliminate most of that. The other thing is this weirdness over here. All right, there's a little dent right here. You can see that with the light right there. We're gonna try and level this as much as we can safely. Like there's a blend line here too. We're gonna try and just level this out to make it less visible to the naked eye, and kind of blend it into the roof. As you come down the vehicle though, you can see that this paint's a lot clearer, so it doesn't necessarily need the same treatment. And also you can see this dark line here, light line here, light line here, dark line here. You know what that is? It's tiger striping from not knowing how to paint. It becomes more visible the clearer the paint is, so it'll just be more visible when I'm done. It's less apparent on the hood. I think it's just because the roof's kind of a bitch to paint. If you're standing up on the ground, you're kind of doing it at an angle. You should always get something like this, and you should always be fanning it down with a nice wide fan. So we've already tacked this. So we're gonna go right to sanding the roof, and then we're gonna go to the tops of the fenders and the hood, and then we'll start at the quarters and work our way forward. To give you guys a comparison of where we're at now, we're just gonna work our way over. That is obviously post cutting step. I haven't even touched this. This hasn't been done at all. All right, let's zoom in here and lock the focus. Look at all the sanding marks. Come over here to the refined area. Nice and clear, nice and clean. You can almost make out the diodes in the lights above the vehicle. So that's what we're working with, people. Just a little bit of sanding goes a long way. As you can see, that tiger striping is a little bit more pronounced now, but our paint is very clear, very clean. I'm gonna zoom in as much as I can here. And we'll come over to the sanded section. So on the hood, it's not as textured as the roof or the trunk lid. There are some areas that have more texture than others. It is right there. It's right next to the plate. All right, so what we'll do is we'll like this. Make sure this is in a spot where it's not gonna damage anything. Okay, see how it's just gonna stay right there. Let's grab some 2500. This section here. Now look how crispy that is. Obviously this is sanded. This is refined. Crispy. That is how you do it. I did lower the exposure a bit because this color like mutes the detail out, and it's kind of annoying. So we're just gonna do a normal two-step correction with the rotary and the DA, and then we'll follow up with a polishing jeweling step after we complete the rest of the car. But the rest of this didn't really need much sanding, just some minor spot sanding. Most of it, we're able to get it leveled down really well with some turtle wax platelet compound, which is honestly one of the strongest store-bought compounds I've ever bought, arguably one of the strongest I have. And it's not terribly expensive, but I use the platelet compound, a rotary cut, and then I use some M110 or ACA 510 to do the DA cut, and then 210 to do the polishing and jeweling. Okay, the Chevelle is done being corrected. We've sanded, cut with a rotary, cut with a DA, finished with a DA, jewel with a DA. A lot of steps, but that's what you gotta do sometimes to get these things to look the way that they look. So now we're gonna go around the whole car, tack rag the glass, and tack rag all of the little seams, the door jambs, trunk, engine compartment area, anywhere that there's dust, chrome bumpers, grill, all that stuff. So we're just gonna start with our glass, and we're gonna work our way around, going over the area a couple times, get as much as you can up. And there's a lot of sides to this towel, so you could pretty much do the entire car, all of the sensitive little areas. What helps is lifting up an edge to allow it to kind of get stuck in the tack. As you can see, it's not like, look at all the polishing fibers. So we'll flip this around, fresh side, and we'll keep going. Ugh. Big car, big windows. Get in here. All right, we'll flip it over. Do this. There's lots of dust everywhere. When you're doing this much work, you're gonna create dust. It's just the way the cookie crumbles. You can leave a little bit of dust on the glass. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I would try to focus in on these areas here. Come down here. Get your chrome. We've got a lot of dust in here. It does a fantastic job. I wish I started this 10 years ago with this, but you know, good ideas always come at the last minute. So flip to a new-ish side. Come do I try to plow the stuff towards myself, not away. There's a lot of fibers from the pads and stuff like that. Flip, look back over it, come down here, get all the crap washed out of there, down in here. Okay. This way. See what you're doing. Does such a fantastic job.
dust without it static clinging to another part of the car. Show you here. That jam's nice and dust free. You got no polishing dust anywhere. Our door jamb is very lightly dusty. It's not too bad, but still, it's the best way to do it without having it like, when you're doing it with a wet towel, it's okay, but like a wet towel kind of just plows it around. With a tack rag, it attaches itself to the towel. You can get all in here, all that dust. There's a bunch of dust right there. Get down here, get all the dust on there. Look, see? Get your finger in there. Put a little bit of pressure on it. Boom. Done. Nice and clean. No static cling anywhere. It just gets it all cleaned up. Okay. Come over to this side. Got a little bit of dust here. I'm not really putting any pressure on it. I'm just kind of flipping the towel around and just lightly brushing it over the surface to get the dust picked up. That's it. Okay, super easy. All right, so we have coated the vehicle. It looks fantastic. It looks so good. So good. And we're gonna basically go around the car and infrared cure the areas that we can reach. And then we are going to, while that is happening, we are going to clean and coat the wheels with an airbrush. I was using this fucking Barber Nation thing and it took a shit on me, so that was a waste of 60 bucks. And the company never gets back to you, so don't even bother wasting your time. Look how clean and clear that paint is. Beautiful. Basically, each spot will get about 7 minutes of direct shortwave, and then we'll just kind of move it down the vehicle slowly and bake the sides, bake the trunk lid, and then reach whatever portion of the hood we can get. This thing does go up all the way to the top, and you can slide it under the car. So you can get a little bit of infrared curing on the hood. I should be able to reach the whole hood for the most part, but as I've proven before, infrared curing with Pro, Underdog Pro, makes it stronger. 100% makes it stronger. All right, so we got our Avanti airbrush and we've prepped our wheel. I'm gonna switch hands real quick because I am a righty, not a lefty. And everything I do with my right works, and everything I do with my left, I feel like I'm handicapped. I don't know why. That's just the way it is. So we're just going to soak this wheel. This is Fine Lab Ceramic Light. Literally, I know, PPE. I should be wearing it. Looking really nice. We'll wipe it down in about 10 minutes. All right, the wheels are all set, looking great. We did the front grille, headlights, and the trim around the headlights. And we also did the back of the vehicle where there's another piece of trim and the tail lights as well.
All right, so once it sits there for about a minute, you should be up at like 115 to 130. And that's kind of the sweet spot right there. And we'll travel down. It'll cool down a bit. Takes a little bit longer to heat up. The interior is extremely clean. Just needed a quick vacuum, but the rugs are purple because they're faded and they're supposed to be black. So we're going to be using some color coat. It's the only thing that you should be using to restore black rugs. It's super easy cleanup, very low overspray, actually no overspray whatsoever. This stuff is flexible, so you're not going to really have any issues with texture changes. Like I said, don't worry about overspray. It comes off super, super easy. Okay. All you do is get yourself a towel while it's still wet and get as much of this off as you can. All right. And then if you got any more left over, people tend to tweak out about overspray. There are two products that you can use. They're super good at getting rid of overspray on paint or trim. Rubbing alcohol or rapid remover are the two really good ones. Okay. Comes off super fast. No issues. Nice clean door jamb again. Same thing with down here. Spray your trim. Comes right off. Right off, right off, right off, right off. No issues. So the Chevelle is all done. I just have a little bit of interior work to do. This thing came out freaking amazing. I'm very happy with it. We were able to fix all of the patterning and weirdness on the top surfaces and some of the side surfaces of the vehicle. Made everything look nice and flat and pretty. Took out a few dust nibs, a few pigtails. Nothing too major. The paint was already really good to begin with. It just had a lot of texture and a lot of patterns in it and some sanding marks. It just wasn't really horrible, but at the same time, it's still a lot to work with. If you remember here, we had a lot of solvent pop and weirdness. We sanded and leveled that, and you can see this little dark line here. That's actually the blend line, the transition line. They did some sort of a Bondo repair here and repainted this in an attempt to fix the weirdness here, but they didn't sand it right, and there's all kinds of weird texture and bumps and stuff. So, but it looks a lot better than it did before, and that's all that matters. We went inside, and as you saw, we recolored the rugs. I just have to condition the seats and wipe the dust off the dash and clean these floor mats, and then we are 100% finished. Everything came out really, really good. Let me get my light and show you guys what the paint looks like. So if you remember, the quarter panel had a bunch of scratches, swirl marks, some sanding marks, but now it is nice and crispy and clear and beautiful. Even when we come down here, we're in the same boat. It looks super, super good. Nice and clean. This is a scan grip light, by the way. There's some deviation in the metallic, like right here is like a light spot in the metallic. They didn't paint it that great. If we get in nice and close, you can see the paint's in really good shape. Same thing with the hood. Did a lot of sanding on the hood. all by hand. We did use the machine to kind of finish it a little bit to make it easier to refine with some 3000. But this paint is crispy. Crispy, crispy, crispy. That's the way we like it here. Nice and crispy. Here's our trunk lid, all that patterning and weirdness removed. You can see that tiger striping. See the dark line, light line, dark line. It's just from not knowing how to spray metallic really well. But I am super, super happy with this. And the owner, as usual, is going to be very happy as well. I put a lot of work into this car because a Chevelle happens to be my favorite car of all of the old Chevys, especially a 69 SS. So it means something to me too. But look at her. Just look at her. Let's get that thing to focus. Look how smexy she is. Whew. Such a clean car. Such a nice candidate for this. So thanks for watching. I really enjoyed doing this car. This was a lot of fun. It took me about a week to get everything done. That's starting and stopping on and off it randomly, doing other stuff. But say goodbye to the 69 SS 396. I'm gonna park it right there and I'm gonna start the next job. Take care.